Hello, everybody, and welcome to ReSync, an Assassin's Creed podcast. I'm your host, Landon, joined by my co-host, the good old Mr. Lukas. How you doing today, buddy?
Doing all right, man. I'm kind of tired, but excited to
Yeah,
talk about some Assassin's Creed.
yeah. We're always tired. We're old enough now that it's just constant sleep deprivation. But
Oh yeah.
it is what it is. But who needs sleep when you've got Assassin's Creed? Ain't that right? So this is an idea that I came up with pretty recently that I was talking to my best bud about because Assassin's Creed Shadows just got announced. It's the first real big Assassin's Creed we've had in a little while. A lot of people forget that Mirage came out last year, but that was kind of, as we believe it, a DLC to Valhalla that kind of got expanded into its own game. Like, this is the true, like, next evolution for Assassin's Creed that's just been announced. And there's been a lot of controversy around it. People are arguing stuff like that, and for a good long while now, Assassin's Creed fans have kind of been very tumultuous. Like, there was a lot of games that weren't super well received, and then it kind of went a little dormant, came back, but was a lot different, and you've got a lot of division in the fan base over it. And it's been complicated for a while. But a lot of the fan base does still agree that the old Assassin's Creed games, specifically like the Ezio trilogy, and Black Flag, like, people unanimously love those games. And so we thought it would be a fun idea to do a little retrospective and go back and have a little bit of a book club type thing about it because it's fun. And I've seen other podcasts do that sort of thing. So I just thought it would be fun to look back because I think, especially too, a lot of people don't go back to the very first Assassin's Creed because, admittedly, it can be lacking in some things that they obviously improved on in sequels. But I like looking back at it as a sort of almost history type of lesson. It almost feels like going into a museum of Assassin's Creed for me because the story is really, really good. I like the Middle Eastern setting. I told Lukas this, that I've played it like 4 times, mostly not out of like me just adoring it as a like stupendous game, but because I've wanted to replay the whole franchise, and so I start with 1, but I never make it much further than that, because I have commitment issues.
Hopefully this time you'll do it.
yeah, this time we'll do it. But I've played the first one a lot because of that, and it still does hold up. Like, obviously there are better mechanics in 2 and 3, and like, as they, crazy, if you keep doing something, you usually get a little better at it. So like, the games are improved upon it, but the core DNA is all there. And it's just cool. As a fan of Assassin's Creed, it's cool to see where they started from and how much solid foundational stuff was already there from the jump all the way back in 2007. And I just really like it. And I know, Lukas, you've played as well. It's been a while, but like, we've both experienced this game already.
Yeah, I haven't played since Black Flag, but, well, okay, I take that back. I've played a few of the games after that, but I never beat any of them, and it was like a few hours of them, and I did not really enjoy them as much.
Yeah, this is where Lukas and I differ a little bit because although we have a very similar Assassin's Creed history where we both kind of fell off after Black Flag, we did kind of go in 2 different directions after that point because I have played pretty much every single one. I haven't touched Rogue and I haven't touched Mirage, but I have played a fairly decent amount of every other Assassin's Creed game. He just kind of dipped his toes in a few more, and he, from the jump, was talking smack and saying that they weren't good and it wasn't real Assassin's Creed. And I can understand that, but I am on the opposite side of the picket fence on that front, where I think it's not necessarily like Assassin's Creed in totality, but they are just like really good games in general. But like, I agree, I still lament what we had in the days of the Ezio trilogy and whatnot, and I want them to do more of a return to form to that. But I also like this new direction too, in which case I've always thought, especially when they talked about Assassin's Creed Infinity and that they want to have like make it more of like a live service theme, which seems very scummy, but there is a way to make that work if they were able to like release stuff like this where they have more classic Assassin's Creed, like what they did with Assassin's Creed Mirage, which actually was a pretty good game from what I've heard. And then they have things like Shadow where you have more of the open world RPG type of thing. I think you can cater to both of those audiences under the umbrella of the franchise. But I do understand what you're saying. That it's not it's not really Assassin's Creed, but they're
lost
still good.
It lost its core, man, and I love that.
It has.
That was like what drove me. The whole fucking the Anunnaki, is that what they call them, or
the Anunnaki? Are you talking about the gods?
Yeah.
And all that, yeah. Yeah, and like we don't necessarily want to go into too much specifics about the entire history of AC, just in case we've got new fans coming in. But I mean, as far as like general franchise goes, they had a very succinct world building and lore built up with the modern day storyline and just with the the lore of Assassin's Creed in general. They had a very steady growth there for a few games, and then they just kind of went off the rails, and that has definitely been something that is a pretty big fallacy with modern Assassin's Creed. They really don't know what to do with that modern day story, and they had such a good start.
They were building such. I don't want to get.
There would have been super cool stuff. Yeah, we'll get to it. We will get to it at one point. But that won't be today. That is a long. This is going to be a multiple podcast episode conversation that we will have. That's the running theme of this. Is we want Desmond Miles back. Well, every episode there will be a Desmond Miles segment. Even in Origins, we're talking about. So, what was Desmond doing during this time? Well, I can theorize. It's going to be a running theme. We're a little biased in that front, but it's our podcast. We get to say.
Yes.
So, but yeah, we both have deep love for the franchise. I figure we both go around. We've already talked a little bit, but like. You said you played up through Black Flag and then have been kind of a little lapsed, but what do you consider to be your favorite Assassin's Creed game? As a bit of an icebreaker, get to know you.
So,
what's
honestly,
your best?
A little bit of a toss-up for me between Brotherhood and Assassin's Creed 3.
Okay.
I know that's kind of...
Explain. You can explain yourself. Defend yourself a little bit.
So, Brotherhood is just one of the best games I've ever played. I
Yes.
love being able to recruit other people. Like,
Yes.
I became attached to some of my assassins. Like, I dressed them up, you give them outfits. It was so, yeah. And then when they died, I mourned for them when you lose them. And yeah, it was such a good game. The story was amazing. But then I'm kind of a sucker for the Revolutionary Wartime.
Right.
And I just really like the vibes of swinging from trees and killing redcoats.
Right.
So,
oh yeah, for sure.
So, that's kind of why it kind of ranks it's kind of up there with me. And I just really like that era of history.
Yeah. Assassin's Creed 3 was very good. Like, I am of the position, my hot take is I don't think there's ever been a bad Assassin's Creed game. I think if I had to choose the worst, it would be the last two Chronicles games, those specific spinoffs, the China and Russia, or not China, India and Russia, because China was good. Actually, you know what? No, China was a great game. It was cool. I liked that they were switching it up, but then they just did more of the same for the other two, and I was just kind of like whatever. But even Unity, I think, is a great game. And I completely agree with the Brotherhood thing, because I honestly have a top 4 that I just consider to be complete masterpieces. If I had to pick a favorite out of any of them, it's 2. 2 is just it launched it into the stratosphere. None of the other great Assassin's Creed games would exist if not for 2.
It has one of the best intros.
One of the best intros. Ezio is probably my favorite video game protagonist of all time. It's probably him, and then honestly Zagreus, because I still love Hades so much. But like Ezio is that guy for me. He's my Mario.
They gave him a 3-part series. It's great.
Yeah, he's the only one that got multiple installments. We kind of got a bit of a bonus with Altair and Revelations, but he's just that guy. And he's gotten 4 installments now because of another game that is in those 4, which is Assassin's Creed Nexus. It's such a good VR game. It's everything I wanted an Assassin's Creed VR game to be, and more people need to get into VR to play that game because it's so good, and it flopped, and so now Ubisoft is never going to do it again, and it's all your fault. It's all you guys' fault, because I know you didn't get it, because I'm pretty sure it was just us. It was just us.
It was really good. I mean, I didn't beat it, but it was really good.
So good. Yeah, again, we typecast him well. He's just nothing after Black Flag, head empty. But I'm telling you guys, it's good. And then Brotherhood, like I said, is up there. 2, Brotherhood, Nexus, and Black Flag, which I know is controversial for you because we have discussed.
Yeah.
Black Flag has a lot of naval combat, but I've grown to potentially admit that I might have been wrong on that. And I think I was just a little pussy. I think with the amount of Sea of Thieves that you have played and the amount of just better gamering that I have done, I feel like when we get to Black Flag, we will have a much better time with it.
Yeah, I mean, well, we were in middle school when that game came out.
Yeah, we
So-
were 14 and 15
Yeah.
when that game came out. So like, I feel like if we were to go back to it, we would have a much better time with it. And as I have retrospectively looked back on it, I love the story. I think the gameplay. I
like
think
the story. Edward Kenway was a cool.
Yeah.
cool protagonist.
He was a cool protagonist. They dropped a lot of conventional stuff because everybody, it almost felt like 3 was a demo for what they wanted to do with 4, because Assassin's Creed 3 did have naval combat, just like a very small
a
amount,
little bit.
and like it was the first time they really started doing open world, because like Revelations and Brotherhood in them, they had open areas, but it wasn't really open world. 3 was the first one to kind of do that, and so Black Flag took a lot of the lessons they learned from making 3 and kind of expanded on all of it.
Yeah, I like.
And
the
that's
open
what
world.
I think
I really like
works.
the open world of Black Flag. I just, like I said, I feel like they relied too much on the ship.
Yeah, that I think that is its
like
biggest.
I haven't played it
flaw,
in
but-
however long.
Yeah, that's
I
2014,
just
bro.
remember the Man of Wars made me so mad.
Yep, Man of Wars, man. Holy cow! And it took them 10 years to make their follow-up game to it, and
Yeah,
it just
That
flopped.
was garbage.
Yeah, so rip Skull and Bones.
Yes.
It is nothing but skulls and bones now. That's for sure. But anyway, so yeah, there's a lot of great Assassin's Creed games out there, and like I said, people have already turned, like, people who are discovering Unity today. This is an actual thing. They love the game, and they're like, why was this reviewed so poorly? And in part, it was because it was very broken at launch, admittedly.
So was Unity the one with his brother and the sister? Or was that different?
No, that was Syndicate, and Syndicate is also really good.
Unity.
Unity
I feel
is the
like I
French
played-
one. It was the next gen one. It's when they released Unity and
I remember
Rogue.
that because I remember I played a little bit of it on your PC back in the day.
And it had co-op. You could do co-op missions with your fellow Assassins friends, and it was actually kind of cool. Like it was like I'm saying we're gonna play co-op when we get to Unity because
Okay.
it's gonna be fun. It's like you,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't play main missions or whatever, but you can
But
do
you
these
can
little like
actually-
assassination side missions
Okay,
in
that'd be
co-op,
fun.
and it's fun.
Yeah,
It's
hell
fun, dude.
Lots of little court
It's
sessions.
just Unity was such a flop out the gate that they're terrified to do anything that relates to it. It's the first game that introduced actual like Assassin's customization, where you bought gear that actually made you, instead of like it just not doing anything cosmetically. Like that's the one problem I had with the Ezio stuff, is when you bought like upgrades and anything, it didn't
Yeah.
actually change stuff. You saw yourself like morph into a master
Yeah.
assassin in Unity, and it looked sick. They had a lot of cool stuff in Unity, and the story was really cool too. It was not able to run properly, and they had weird glitches, and so it flopped on its face.
So now it can run fine because it's old.
Exactly. Now it's old, so it's just automatically optimized because you need just the potato will run it now. So like, it's good, but anyway, a lot of broad Assassin's Creed topics since it is our episode 0. We're not getting into it just yet.
Just little.
But we'll be
gist of
able-
stuff.
We'll be able to dive even deeper into it as we go through, and we would like this to expand on like the whole franchise. Like obviously right now this first quote unquote season will consist of the first Assassin's Creed, which honestly will only take us a couple months to get through, because the plan here is we do one sequence a week. The earlier games are very linear focused with some open areas, but it's all kind of following a very progressive sequence. We have talked about the fact that this will logistically get much harder later on when it gets to open worlds and
Yeah.
side quests and all kinds of different things. Essentially, we're just gonna wing it. We're gonna see what happens. We're gonna
We'll
try our
figure
best.
it out when we get there.
We will figure it out. But for now it's easy, and we only focus on the present. So even though we're going into the past, you get what I mean?
You're funny.
I bring the comedy. I worked at a comedy club. You pick up some stuff, but yeah. So that's a future us problem to figure out. But for now, we're gonna be playing one sequence a week. So every Wednesday, I'm gonna be posting this, and every Wednesday we'll reconvene to talk about Assassin's Creed, the next sequence, talk about kind of, I guess, our initial impressions and whatnot of like the actual stuff, looking about it in retrospect to both present day gaming in general and just the Assassin's Creed franchise as a whole. And I think we can have some really cool discussions about it. Again, us revisiting it, and then even for people for the first time playing it that can be playing along with us, it'll be really cool. And I hope you guys will enjoy it, because again, this was just something I was kind of thinking about, because to be honest, I'm actually listening to another podcast called Take Your Time, which is a Persona podcast where they play through Persona games in real time with the calendars. And it's really, really nice for me because I'm an adult now. I'm 25 years old. I don't have a whole lot of free time to dedicate to games, but I love games and I have FOMO and I feel like I miss out on all these things, but it's very, very hard for me to commit to all these games with the little free time that I have. And so chopping up these big RPGs or like big games, like longer games that I loved or used to love or really want to play, chopping them up into little segments weekly and just being able to kind of like dig deep into them and kind of enjoy them more is really entertaining. I am loving playing through Persona this way. And I was like, with all the Assassin's Creed buzz, I just thought it would be really fun to kind of do that with like my all-time favorite franchise, even if I have kind of been a little lapsed. This is a way for me to eventually get into them because I really loved what I played of Valhalla. I think there's a lot of great stuff in modern Assassin's Creed, just again in different ways. And I think the old ones also hold up too, because I last played this game right here a year ago. It hasn't even been that long for me that this will be like my 5th replay. And I'm still kind of excited because I think another thing about this is like, even though the start is linear, there is some open-endedness to it. Like, for those that don't remember, there are investigations in Assassin's Creed where essentially it is a lot of, you get a target and you need to go and do investigatory fucking detective work, damn near, to figure out where your target's going to be, what opportunities you might have. And a lot of times you only need like 3 investigations to then launch into that assassination, but you can go and collect all of them. And so I think, I'm not saying you have to do this, Lucas. In fact, I think it'd be better if you didn't, because I think because of how many times I've played it, I'm just going to go for all of them. And because in terms of a gameplay standpoint, they're pretty monotonous, like just essentially like tedious little like mini game type things. But the actual like contextual story lore you get from those missions is actually really interesting and can help you. Like the more you go to, the more information you actually do get about the area, and it'll tell you about like secret spots to make the mission way easier. Because I've had that happen to me before. So there is some actual value in doing it. Now, it's not going to mark it down for you. You have to actually pay attention and listen because it's an old game that doesn't like hold your hand. But like if you genuinely listen to the story that happens with those assassinations, it can make the mission a lot easier. So I'm going to go that route. Even if it does get a little monotonous doing all like 9 of them, I'll do it. But yeah, not saying you have to, not saying you as the audience have to, but I will forewarn that if you are like either a completionist or someone that just cares a lot about story and you just kind of want to experience stuff, I would consider maybe doing that if I were you. But again, it can get a little tedious. Be warned, all that fun stuff. But I think it'll also be cool to be able to share perspectives like that, where it's like Lucas might approach an assassination completely different than what I do, because that can't happen even in this very first game. Obviously, the options get expanded on and more complex and nuanced like throughout the franchise. But even in the first game, it is there. And that's why I think this game is still so approachable today, because even though a lot of systems are very bare bones and kind of, again, more foundational than as implemented as they are in the later games, there's really good bones here. And I think that it's a cool game. And I like the setting, and I love Altair. I think his story is cool. The story is a lot better than people remember it to be. It's just good stuff.
Yeah, and I'm very excited to play it because I haven't played that first game in so long that I barely remember anything about it. Like I just remember bits and pieces.
He's going in fairly fresh since it's been so long.
I might get reminded of things on the way, but right now I can't recall anything, so I'm kind of excited.
Right? Yeah. Like I said, I think like I would give this game a solid like 9 out of 10. I'm not even gonna lie. I like, for comparison, I give Assassin's Creed 2 a 10 out of 10. So there's definitely stuff to be improved, but like I would give this game a 9 out of 10. I think it holds up. I think for 2007, it's amazing. Like it is very deserving of that 9 out of 10 in the context of that time frame. I think it did a lot of really cool things for the action adventure genre, especially with the franchise in totality. And yeah, I miss this type of game. That's why I was kind of excited about Mirage. And I heard Mirage is also very good. And so now I just want to get there. Because even though a lot of the Assassin's Creed games are very standalone in that you can understand 95% of what's going on, there is still that modern day stuff that they are... They just tap. They just give it a little poke.
I love the modern day storylines.
So, like, you know, I like people who played Valhalla and then going into Mirage know Basim's story is a crazy one in the modern day implication. Like I said, I'm not going to get into it, but they are doing crazy stuff with the modern day. So that's why I do kind of want to go and revisit, because I haven't been through Rogue, Unity, Syndicate, Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla. I've played all of them, haven't beaten any of them. And so, like, it'd be nice to complete that timeline. And again, revisit, because, like, I played a little bit of 2 over the years, a little bit of Brotherhood. It's been at least half a decade since Revelations and 3. Black Flag, I want to say, was like 2018 was the most recent time. It's been a while from those old ones. So I'm excited to revisit it. Just take a walk down memory lane. Oh, yeah. Be a good time.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, we're huge fans. We were in middle school talking about this game. In high school, going on and on about Desmond Miles and how he was so cool, and we love Desmond Miles. I'm going to let you know, once we hit Assassin's Creed 2, you will not remember how cringy the modern day cutscenes are, because they are. They're so bad. But, like, the overall story is great. But there's some cringy cutscenes I have discovered. The first one's pretty decent, but then they get a bigger budget for the sequels, and they just start getting weird with it. I'm not going to lie, I think our kid bias gave Desmond a little too much credit, but it is still cool. It is still cool.
Yeah, he used to be my favorite protagonist of all time.
Yeah, man. But I feel like it was more from a love for the franchise than an actual love for Desmond, because going back on it now, I'm like,
are you just like,
this is just cookie cutter Nolan North. But you know, it's okay. It's okay. It's still good. But yeah, I appreciate you guys tuning in again. Not a whole lot. We're mostly introducing the thing. I want to reiterate, if I remember correctly, I think the first sequence in this game is about an hour. So there's not really, like, a lot of this first episode next week will also kind of be introductory, where you're getting a feel for the game. It's the, you know, we get introduced to the conflict and the scenery and what goes on here. So, yeah, if I remember correctly, not a super long time. The sequences are a little bit short for the first couple, but then they start really branching out once they get everything tutorialized, and we'll have a little bit more to talk about. But again, I think in retrospective, we'll have some really cool conversations here. And before we go, I also wanted to do something a little more interactive for anybody listening / watching out there. But I've prepared a little bit of trivia. I think each week having it relate to either like the stuff that we've played, or you know, some sort of broader aspect. I'd like to have some trivia. So if you're playing, you know, maybe some of the diehards can discover some stuff. I want to give some low balls every once in a while, you know, be able to give some easy ones. This one's a little general one that I thought would be an easy one for any Assassin's Creed fan, let alone Ubisoft.
I probably should have known it.
But I stumped him. So if you know, maybe you guys won't know this, but so the trivia question for this week, and you can answer down in the comments on YouTube, or you can tweet at me at PandaMasterCC on social platforms if you are listening on Spotify or whatever other podcasting service you're consuming us on. I'll try to get it on as many as I can. But the trivia question this week is: Assassin's Creed was first a successor to what other Ubisoft franchise? So the first game was originally in development as a sequel to another franchise from Ubisoft, and then spun off into its own thing. What was that original franchise? So again, I feel like this is a layup, but it stumped my co-host here. So maybe, you know, we'll see how many people can get it. But you know, comment down below, all that fun stuff. Get a conversation going about the history of Assassin's Creed. I'm excited. Hope you guys are. Lucas, you excited?
I'm super excited.
We're really excited. Assassin's Creed, baby. Altair. And before too long, Ezio, Connor, Edward. We got tons of people to interact with. Tons of Templars to slash. We got to fist fight the Pope. There's a lot of stuff coming. And so, I appreciate all of you guys watching, listening, however you're consuming our stuff. If you could taste us, I guess. Congratulations. Not sure how you pulled that one off, but, you know, whatever senses you're using to consume our content, thank you for doing so. Stay tuned. Like I said, every Wednesday we'll have an episode. Excited to get into it in totality next week and talk about some cool intro stuff. But appreciate Appreciate you. Lucas, you got anything you wanted to say before we take off?
Not really. I'm just excited to play some Assassin's Creed, man.
Yeah, it'll be a fun time. So, once again, appreciate you guys. We'll see you back here next Wednesday. And peace out. Remember, nothing is true. Everything is permitted. Let's go. Assassin's Creed shit right there.
Oh, yeah.